You might be allergic to coming up with a marketing budget for your business and for your podcast. And I totally get it. I come from the creative side of things, and business was something I had to learn. You might be the same way. I've brought Christian Brim onto the show today. He is an author, he is a podcaster, and day to day, he's a CPA. So he's helping creative businesses, specifically people who are the artists that happen to be in business. He's helping them with their finances and building the business of their dreams. Here is our conversation with Christian. Enjoy. Christian, my buddy, my man, it is so good to have you here. Thank you for joining me. It's great to see you. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you. It's Friday today. My sister-in-law has been in town all week, and she leaves tomorrow, so I am very thankful.
Don't smile too wide, Christian.
Now, she's not going to be listening to the show, so it's totally fine.
All right. Well, yeah, we've got a lot of things to get into. I have plenty to smile about because I'm reading your book, and we'll talk about that later. But what I want to start with is, given your background, you talk a lot about a creative entrepreneur. And when I first read this, I thought it was super spot on. So just explain what a creative entrepreneur is for people.
Yeah. So I was at a live event with Perry Marshall down in Dallas a few years ago, and I was in a hot seat, and he was asking me questions, and he finally just kind of looks at me, and he says, "Well, Christian, you're an artist." And I was taken aback. I'm like, what? No, I'm not an artist. And then he further explained, he said, no, business owners are either builders or they're artists. And he said, a builder entrepreneur looks at the opportunities that they see around them, and they see an opportunity to solve a problem and make money, and that's what they decide to do. Whereas the artist is driven by some passion. And so I thought about that, and I'm like, okay, given that definition, I will stipulate that I'm an artist, but I didn't like that term still. So I use the term creative, because artist invokes these images of berets and, it's not me.
Well, and fair enough, because it's funny, too, because you're a CPA. I don't think I've ever heard of artist CPA. There's definitely an artistry to it. But I don't know. I think I've heard of that combination before.
No, yeah. I mean, I get that a lot. I mean, people, it seems to be the ubiquitous question is, well, what do you do when you meet some man? And I honestly, for a long time, I made up something. My go-to answer was as little as possible, because I didn't want to tell people that I was a CPA. And, because that comes with baggage and their expectations. And then they start asking you stupid ass tax questions. And, when they did discover I was a CPA, it was like, I've never met a CPA like you. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, I was a CPA by default. I mean, it was just, that's another story. But, I don't identify as being a CPA. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because it's something that I was never able to identify getting into business, because for me, I'm just like a total perfectionist brain for the art form of conversation, right? Like the great way to host a radio show and come up with topics and do teases and deal with callers. And then once I left that, the great way to develop topics and still work in promotional reads for the business and, just like all the stuff. It's how do I do this perfectly? And then it's like, oh yeah, I also need to make money too. And so how do I do that? I have no idea, which was really the biggest struggle of all of this. Was I have the art form down. Anybody that talks to me knows that I know my stuff and they trust me on it. But when it comes to the actual dollars and cents and structure and strategy, it's been an ongoing process. I'm still going through it. Which is why I'm glad we get the opportunity here, because I think one of the biggest things that I deal with a lot, and people are always interested in, is marketing budget. Because with all of this stuff with content creation, right? And this too, you're a podcaster yourself.
Yes.
To have a podcast, to have a book, you have to get the word out about these things. But at the same time, there's this struggle of, well, I'm paying to make the thing. And so, like, how do you even be,
Yes.
it's like, oh, I've got these expenses to write the book or to make the podcast and have it
Yes.
edited. So how am I supposed to pay for both? Like, how do you even begin the idea of figuring out a budget for somebody who is this creative entrepreneur?
There's so many thoughts running through my head. When I was working with my editor on my book, and we were putting it to bed, and it was getting ready to go off to the printer, I felt this kind of relief, like I'd birthed this thing and I was finally done. And this conversation with my editor about like post production or post publication, I realized though, like, oh shit, I'm just at the start of this, right? Like I had just focused on writing the book, but the reality was that it doesn't matter how good your book is or how good your podcast or your blog or whatever content or service, like it or product, it doesn't really matter how good it is. You still have to market it so people can find out about it. And I'm not going to say that I wasn't a little depressed at that point. Like, God, I've got to do more. I I I I don't like the word budget, and I'll tell you why. People, even if they're just personal, they don't own a business. I have a budget, and they start out the year, and as soon as they overspend or they don't make as much money as they projected, the budget falls apart and they throw it out the window and they stop doing whatever it is that they were planning on doing. It's kind of like a New Year's resolution. Budgets were made by large companies to delegate authority. And so, like, if you were in a marketing department at a Fortune 500 company, you would have a budget. And this is how much you can spend. You can't spend any more than that. And it was a way to say, okay, here, you make the decisions with this pot of money. Well, with a business owner, that doesn't work because there is no constraint, because you're in charge. You can tell yourself, no, I'm going to spend this money anyway, right? And so I don't like to use budgets. I like to think in terms of projections or forecast, if you will. And so, let's make the assumptions that of what we're going to do over some period of time. I like to use 12 months, and I do that on a rolling basis, which simply means you always have 12 months. So you don't just start out at the beginning of the year with a calendar year budget. You have a budget for 12 months. So in February, you drop off January, and then you add January of the next year. So you've always got 12 months in the pipeline looking forward. And you just take your business plan, your assumptions. I'm going to spend X, I'm going to do Y, and you put that into numbers, and you put it into a projection, and then you iterate. And so, like, usually where people have trouble with that is on the revenue side. They can predict expenses, they can get quotes, they can, okay, this is going to cost me X. But the revenue projection is usually the hardest part. Like, okay, I'm going to do this marketing thing, but I don't know what the results are going to be. I'd like for them to be this, but I don't know. And so you do the thing, you come back and you say, okay, well, did that work? Did that not work? It may not be a month. It may be a quarter, because marketing sometimes has a long tail. But the point is that you're not stuck with some static document that you started the year with, and oh shit, I didn't get the sales I wanted, so this budget is completely worthless, and you throw it out the window. You just keep updating your projection based upon your experience, and you learn and you update, and you learn and you update.
Yeah, I'm always looking at it of this process of, it's like we have a certain idea of the kind of money that we're going to have in a given basis for the next month, the next 3 months, 5 months. And what I'll do is I'll look at that, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm just trying to increase what this pool of money is that I have to work with. And what are some ways that I can go about doing that? Because we're at the phase where, like, just with our podcast and the content that we generate for the business, right? It's all still pretty new. Like, we technically started this show in October of last year. We're children. We're still crawling. We're pooping our pants.
Infants.
I know.
Yes.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
Can we say sucking on the teat?
Big time.
All right, go ahead.
Big time. Yeah. So with all of that, it was so funny because, like, okay, now we're trying to, we have a great feel of the kind of show, what the show is about, the kinds of conversations we're having, who we're inviting on, how we're promoting all of that stuff, and how I'm going on other shows and building relationships too, which is how we got together.
Yes.
But the cool thing is then it's like, okay, I'm going to experiment with something that's a growth strategy and see how this works. Like, we found a newsletter, for example. And with that, I paid to run a campaign for like 5 days, see if we would get any leads. We did. And it was a pretty small investment to do that. So knowing what the investment was, plus the value of getting a single customer in the door, I'm like, this is something we can do. You know, Great. Boosting posts on LinkedIn. I just started to experiment with that. But at the very least, like, so I guess what I'm saying is I try to, for now, I'm taking these very small bites and tests with the idea that I don't know what my budget is, big picture. I don't have a major or guideline to work with because we're banning budget. We're banning that word.
Yeah,
and
we don't like that word.
That's right. It's gone. And because of that, then it's like, okay, well, at least I have some idea of where this can go as I bring more money in, and I'm doing more things that can help me bring more money in at the same time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think the two things that are uber important to understand when doing these marketing financial conversations is cost of acquisition, lifetime value of a customer. And you may still be nascent enough that you don't know either of those numbers. And so you have to guess. But, you know, at the end of the day, all of the marketing decisions are based upon those metrics. What does it cost to acquire a customer or a client versus what is that client worth over the lifetime? But like you did, you may not be real clear, but you're like, I spent this money and it generated something and it seems to be worth it. And that may be all you get out of the gate because you don't know.
Yeah. And that's what it is. I mean, because like I said, I don't have this business background. I don't know how to, you know, I have a bookkeeper, so that's great. I have some idea of what that looks like.
Right.
But big picture for me to calculate those things, like, I have no idea what I'm doing there. It's not my specialty. So yeah, I've had to ballpark everything to this point. It's been hard. You know, it's a lot to learn.
And that's okay. I mean, estimates, you know, the reality is that an estimate, people don't, I don't know. And you probably will never hear a CPA say this because they're more like black and white, precise things. But like, estimated numbers are not bad. I mean, you can work with them. Probabilities are okay. You don't usually get 100% certainty on anything. So it's okay to use estimates.
Yeah, and that's what we've been doing. It's like when we're even just charting expenses, I'll just put a little side item in there where it's basically just for experiments. It's just like, hey, I'm just going to try some stuff this month with marketing and see where it goes. And it's really been that simple.
Yeah, and the problem I've run into over the 28 years that I've been in business and working with external agencies to help with marketing and internal marketing efforts is really the idea of like, did I give it enough time to see the result? And that's sometimes very hard to gauge, especially if you're trying something new, because you don't know how long that it's going to take to see the return.
Yeah. And that's one of those scary things. And I think in a lot of cases, because let's talk about what I think a lot of people are feeling right now, which is it is tight out there. right? Like it just feels like people are losing jobs, and you've got all this stuff with AI, and like just nobody knows what's going to happen with anything. They're tending to retreat in right now. So
Yes.
whether I feel like I was doing well and I'm worried about things might shrink a little bit, or I'm just small in the first place and feel like, oh well, Christian, Vince, I can't possibly put anything aside. I'm too tight. Like, how do you even, if you're in that mindset of I don't have the money, it doesn't exist to go and market, like how do you untangle that web?
I agree with your assessment that there is this feeling of anxiety. There's angst out there, and you're not the only one feeling it, because there are a lot of things changing, and whether that's technology or political, monetary. I mean, like I don't even like to think about the federal debt anymore. I've been whining about it for the last 30 years, but now it's coming to a point where like, oh, this is really going to start causing problems. So there's a lot of reasons to be anxious out there, and there's a lot of unpredictability, perceived or real. But I also see a lot of opportunity, and I see opportunity in a couple of different ways. I think first is technology. I think that everybody is because all of the headlines are, you know, destroying jobs. You know, going to change and eliminate this position. And that may be true. It may not be true. The problem is we really can't predict it. I went back several years ago before the large language models came out, and I did a deep dive on AI myself, and read several books. And I also read a book on the Industrial Revolution. Why? Because I said, well, when was the last time this happened, right? Where we had this fundamental change and it reordered society. And it was when we went from agricultural to industrial. And that didn't happen overnight. It was decades, right? And in some part of the world, it's still going on, like the Industrial Revolution hasn't arrived. But it kind of, what I came away with from that was like, well, hell, there's no way you could predict, sitting on the other side of it, what the other side was going to look like. There's just no way. But the other thing is that there were a lot more opportunities to be more successful. I mean, the reality was that industrialization made us more efficient in a lot of things, and we could do a lot more with less. And that's exactly what AI is going to do. The question is not, is my job going to be there? Is my industry going to be there? The question I'm asking myself, and I'm encouraging others to do, is what problems do you see that the tool can help you solve? And not worry about the rest of that, because frankly, you're not going to be able to figure it out. No one can.
Well, you know, you have to be really specific about who you're talking to. Anytime I bring on a potential client, for example, it's like, okay, you want to do a show, like what's your business about? Who are the exact people that you're looking to talk to? And if it's not incredibly specific, you're probably in the wrong place. If you're looking for more ways to grow your business through podcasting, sign up for the SBX newsletter. The link is right here in the show notes, and each week in your inbox, you're going to get tips, opinions, strategies, all the things that we talk about here on the show in your inbox. The SBX newsletter right here in the show notes. On this show, I've made it a point now to not talk about launching shows. I'm not doing topics about it. There's no point, right? Like if you have a show and you're already committed to it, then I'll help you out. Like, I got all this information. I'll give you ideas. But if you're not even sure if you're committed to this thing, I'm not going to make a show for people who may or may not even be committed to the art of podcasting. You know what I mean? It's nonsense. So it was like, okay, I'm going to be incredibly specific here. And then what are ways that AI can help us when it comes to different parts of editing, but not hurting the quality of it? Or what things do we need to do to adapt the AI to get it to the quality that it needs to be? So it is such a protective process, and it is one of those things where, yeah, I'm exhausted emotionally thinking about a lot of this different stuff and thinking about how we're going to grow the business or pivot the business with everything that's going on. But knowing that there is opportunity is a comforting thing. And I guess to bring it back in a little bit, like that's why it is so important to think about creative ways to get yourself out there and invest in this marketing, because everybody is posting online. They're doing it more. They're doing it at more volume with AI. Like it's a real problem. So what you need to do, one of those next steps up, if you're talking about like elevating your business, elevating your show, elevating your marketing, is investing in those dollars and putting it into, like I said, featuring in a newsletter, getting the boosts on LinkedIn or any other kind of advertising that you can do. Like you need that stuff because you got to get people's attention. Like it's too crowded and you've got to take some risk to do it.
Yeah. There was a book that came out probably over 10 years ago called Blue Ocean Strategy. Have you read it?
I've heard. I actually have a client that's been raving about that book.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's essentially it's human behavior, and it's like where there is a frenzy, people gravitate to, and just like sharks, and that's the ocean analogy. And so you don't want to be where everybody else is. You want to be zagging when everybody's zigging. But I think that, like the clients that we serve clients in creative industries. I think they're actually just teed up perfectly because they think divergently anyway. So they're not usually following the crowd. They're not going where everybody else is anyway. They're looking at it and like, well, why do I have to color inside the lines? I think about what you do and podcasting in general. I started my podcast just because I got pissed off because I didn't like any of the conversations I was having on podcasts promoting my book. And I said, well, I'll just create one. I had no idea what it cost, what I had to do, what was involved with promoting it. I knew nothing, and I now know a little bit more than nothing. But the thing that it does is it gives me a platform to talk to who I want to talk to about the things I think are important to them. And that's it. And I'm not trying to make it. I don't pitch core on the show. We don't have ads. That may change. I don't know. But to me, I'm building this ecosystem with the book, with the podcast, with a live event in October here in Oklahoma City. And then I mentioned to you in the green room before we came on that we're going to put out a print newsletter, an old school newspaper tabloid. Why? Because I know, it's a lot more expensive to print and mail, but I also know that all of those damn emails that go out just go into a hole. I know from my own experience, like how many email newsletters do I read? And the answer is like, very few. I mean, it is infinitesimally small.
It's a crowded market. And that is the thing. For a while, it's been, this is like the new thing to do. And so it's open waters and you are capitalizing on that, right? Going back to the ocean. It's like, there's nobody here. So it's easy to get big fast. And podcasting was the same way. Now it's a little more crowded, but it's been cool because, I mean, everything is evolution and survival. Right. So on some level, you're forced to like do these very specific things and get more creative because evolution is what it takes to survive for the business, for the show, for whatever. So you have to do that. And then, what are the other things that people aren't doing and how can you get their attention? I think you're right that like in-person, physical, that's where everything, people have been talking about that a little bit, but it really is becoming more imperative when like fake influencers are at Wimbledon and getting millions of likes. It's just like, it's a crazy world out there. And when there's just no fundamental trust in what people are seeing, like you want the digital, but you need to be authentic with it to maintain that trust. And then, how are these other ways that you can really transcend and do what other people can't? So I love the newsletter idea. I think it's brilliant.
Well, we'll see. Thank you. But the thing I like about podcasting is that you get a long form content to engage. It's not a blog post. It's not an email. And it's to I mean, no one's going to listen to a podcast that's not interested in it. Right. So when you look at it, To me, it's very similar to the book. They're similar things. They're not money makers in and of themselves. And I may not be able to directly attribute, looking at those marketing dollars, I might not be able to attribute, well, I know that I got this client because they bought my book and read it. That happens occasionally. But the reality is that because the book exists, it doesn't matter that anybody bought it. Because the podcast exists, it doesn't matter whether the prospect has listened to it. It gives me credibility with the prospect. It builds the trust because they can see that I'm committed to the cause.
I've been at this place now where I've been able to really do market research through the show. And to think about that investment, yes. Right? Like it's pretty cool. And same thing, like, okay, I know newsletters are really popular. There's a lot of popular newsletters. So that's why I did that campaign. I wanted to see how it would work for me in the show and this business. I same thing with LinkedIn. It's popping off. I'm putting a lot of time into it. It's going well over there for me. So it's like, let me ride it a little bit more and see how it goes. And sure enough, like the first time I boosted a post, I woke up the next morning and I had somebody asking me if they could get on a call. I was like, all right. Like this is
yes.
This is it.
I love that.
Yeah. So, but it's like it's taken me a while to get here, and that's part of why I think it's important to say it, because it's like, oh man, we've got to pay all these bills, and like, well, this client's not paying us on time, and you know what I mean? Like, there's just all these different problems, and that's part of why I think it's so great to have you on. Because again, with the book, which is Profit First for Creatives, you talk about all of this immediately. I mean, you're really addressing these issues of like, okay, listen, you're an artist, and let's talk about how you think of money and like all the things that we've covered. And then here's this system that you can put into place to start thinking about your money, manage it better, cover all your expenses, get yourself paid, and have some consistency in what you do. So like, I'm in the process of learning all of this now. It's cool to be in the middle of this book and talk to you at the same time. That's a beautiful thing of podcasting. But yeah, like I'm definitely learning a lot. So definitely encourage people to buy the book. And just for Christian, for anybody who wants to keep up with you, everything that you're up to, like how should they keep up with you?
Well, the easiest way is my website, christianbrim.com. It's atrocious. It's ugly. It's on WordPress. It is being redesigned, but just, suffer through it. I'm going to try something that I learned from a book publisher on my podcast. I'm going to give away the entire book in PDF format to your listeners for free.
Wow.
Yes. Because what he said was, and he's older than I am, and he's been marketing books forever. He said, what we found is if you give away the PDF or the digital copy, they're more likely to buy the physical copy. And he said, it drives physical sales. And I'm like, okay. So that's what we're going to do for you and your listeners, Vince.
All right. So are you sending me a link then? And I'll
give you
put
a
that
link.
In the show notes.
I'll give you a link, and all you need is your email and name, and we'll send you the book for free.
There you go. So I did not know this in the moment, but now as you listen to this, it's in the show notes. So go to the show notes, hit the link, sign up for the book. Again, like seriously, I'm in the middle of it. I think it's an easy read, by the way. Like it's an easy, fun, and light, digestible read, which for finance sounds basically impossible. So congratulations to you, sir. Like it's well done, and I'm really enjoying it and enjoyed this conversation. It's been phenomenal. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, Vince. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe to the newsletter to get more podcast insights. That link is in the show notes. And if you're feeling stuck with your podcast, let's figure it out together. Book a free 10-minute chat with me. The link to do that is also in the show notes. Talk to you next week.